Hey Lan, hi folks, it's Lev. Welcome back to another video. For those of you who are new, I use him pronouns. Yes, a little change of scenario because I felt like going outside and just vlogging, so why not? Today's video, I want to talk about how I got my motorcycle license and how I did it with like literally 3 months of practice. And yes, this is a new hoodie. I bought it like 2 weeks ago and I absolutely love it. It actually said camo hoodie in the tag and I didn't realize there's a camo hoodie, but I really like the two colors. It's really aesthetic to me. Great, the sun came out. Maybe I need to change my angle. Weather seems to be okay for now. If the sun becomes blaring and super bright, then I'll have to move somewhere else. Yeah, so yesterday I went for my motorcycle license assessment and I passed. And now I have a unrestricted full license. As in, I'm not on probationary. I don't have to display red P plates or green P plates. Unrestricted motorcycle license, just ride normally without any plates at the back. And the restrictions are basically I can't take passengers for 3 years and 0 blood alcohol concentration for the next 3 years. I don't really drink in general and I would never drink and drive, therefore that really doesn't affect me that much. The rule that affects me is not driving passengers for 3 years, so I just have to wait before I can drive people around. Yeah, and for context, I live in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia, and I don't know what the motorcycle license laws for the other states in Australia and what it's like internationally, so I can only speak for my experience in like living where I live. So for context, motorcycle learner permits in Victoria only last 15 months. And I got my learner permit in March last year, so March 2022. And then I didn't ride again until February this year. So I didn't touch the bike or anything for almost a year. I didn't prioritize motorcycle riding, and then as 2022 progressed and it was the year getting closer to my top surgery date, I didn't want to risk riding and I was scared to ride because I didn't want to fall and have an accident or like sort of be in sort of predicament where my top surgery would have to be postponed or rescheduled because top surgery was the priority for me at the time. And then after top surgery, I needed months to recover before I could get back on a motorbike. And then here I ended up starting to ride again in February this year, so like 3 months ago literally. And this is where I got my motorcycle license with 3 months of practice comes in. So when I got my learner permit, it was a 2-day course, so they teach you how to ride and then they do a little assessment, and then when you pass you get your learner permit. And then I didn't touch a bike for a year, and I got back on the bike like 3 months ago in Feb. And when I started out riding again, I was really nervous. I didn't even know how to use the bike. I didn't know how to turn properly. I was really scared, and I did like fall early on when I started riding again because I overthought it and then I sort of lost control and then I fell. I'll link the video down below talking about that. I fell because I leaned too much. Even though I was going super slow, I leaned like this and therefore I toppled over this way. I fell at a very low speed. The sun's coming out again. I'm gonna change my angle. I was playing around with the angles and I ended up like going back to my original position because the lighting is the least weird here. When I was staying over there, it was just oversaturated and it looked ugly. So you're gonna have to bear with the half shadow on my face because the sun's right over there. Yeah, 15 months, I forgot what I was saying. 15 months learner permit, yep. I fell because I didn't trust myself and I leaned too much, and then that's why I stopped. So I'll just go into a little bit about what the license assessment entails, and then I'll talk about how I practice to get to the motorcycle license assessment stage and actually pass and not ride with so much anxiety essentially. So the assessment involved an off-road component and an on-road component. The off-road is basically the place where I did it was a race course, the off-road. It's like a closed circuit essentially, and they test basic riding skills such as slow riding, as in riding slow within the line, braking, navigating corners, navigating sharp turns, and just see like if the person can like actually maneuver the bike properly and know how to safely start, stop, turn, etc. before going on road. And after the instructor's happy with that, he took me on road, which is basically on the main road where traffic goes, like not in a closed circuit. The on road is basically in traffic on main roads where other traffic and road users are. And then he led me, and then we stopped and he told me where to go, and then I rode in front. He was observing my riding skills from behind me. He was following me behind, and then he was happy, and then I followed him back to the race course, and then that was basically it. And then I passed. Now into how I got practice. So yes, I only rode practice for 3 months before I went for my license test. And I was petrified, and I was actually really, really stressed because I'm like, shit, I had my license for like a whole year, right, already. And I didn't use any of that time to practice and get on the bike. And I've never ridden bikes before getting my learner permit. So I like had no experience being on scooters or bikes ever in my entire life before I got my learner permit. And then I started slow again. I started slow as in I didn't go on main roads. I rode around in very quiet areas in my neighborhood. Like just getting used to controlling, getting used to getting up to speed, stopping, rolling off throttle, braking safely, turning left, right. When I started again, I kept doing left turns, like loops, like just in an oval shaped loop, like left turn and get to the next street, left turn, left turn, left turn. And then once I got confident, I started doing right turns. And then once I built more confidence, then I started riding left, going around roundabout, doing left turns, right turns around my neighborhood in a very quiet area. With roundabouts, at first, I only felt confident doing left turns and going straight. I didn't feel confident doing the going around turn right or like a loop around the roundabout. More context, in Australia, we drive on the left-hand side of the road for those of you who live in places where you might drive on the opposite side of the road. So I drive on the left side, right on the left side of the road. It was roundabouts, and then as I built more confidence, I started going onto roads that are still quiet. It's not like main roads, but there's more traffic, more pedestrian activity. And I started riding there, still 40, 50 Ks an hour. And then as I built more confidence, I started going on to 60 K an hour roads, roads with traffic lights, road with traffic light turn arrows, and staying in traffic, behind traffic, in queues of traffic. And then from there, I just kept working my way up. Then I started going on to 80K roads, and then bigger highways, and then eventually I went up to 100K road on my bike. And then, yeah, and I went for the assessment, and then I landed it. And now, that was just like really brief, like rundown about the practice. I want to talk more about now how I used the 3 months to practice strategically. And that's the main thing I wanted to talk about in this video, but I wanted to give context beforehand. I was stressed. 3 months was not that much time. And I knew I had to be strategic in how I practice. And I should also note that I didn't practice every day. So it was like, some weeks I practice a few times a week, sometimes after work and then on weekends. Other times I only practice on weekends. There were a few weekends where I completely skipped, so I didn't ride for like 2 weeks. And then it was just like, it wasn't a consistent practice thing. I knew how to be strategic. So what I did was identified my weak spots. Like as I got back on the bike and started getting a feel for it, then I sort of had a feel. I started realizing my weak spots and what I felt most unconfident in. For example, when going on straight roads was easy for me, like going on straight roads. What I struggled with initially was doing loops around, doing right turns around roundabouts and looping around roundabouts, and cornering. Cornering was something that was a weak spot for me, like say you're going on a straight road and there's like a corner left, right. That was one of my weak spots. And the other weak spot I had was going up to 100k road, which is I knew something I was going to do during the assessment. And I overcame that by going on the check ride, and we had a group little on-road coaching session, and then we went all on 100k road, and that was the first time I went 100 kilometers an hour on the road, and then that's when I started being more confident. But yeah, back to my point, I was identifying weak spots and sort of structuring practice around that. So, and also not overdoing it. So not in one practice run, do like work on cornering and then going 100 k's an hour when I'm not ready. It's more, I identify my weak spots, work on the more simpler basic fundamentals of my weak spots. So I'm not gonna go like 80k or on the main highway if I'm not confident doing left and right turns, for example, or going around corners. I'm not gonna go 80k road before I'm confident going around corners at a slow speed. So it's working on that, like the weak spots that I've identified at a more basic level, and then as I build confidence in the basic levels, my baseline improves, and then I start leveling up and sort of taking the basics and then putting them to use in more difficult leveled up situations. The other thing that I wasn't really confident in that I was working on is riding on traffic heavy roads, because there are reckless drivers on the road who don't pay attention to other road users, and they just think they own the road, or they can just cut in front of someone without sufficient space, which happens so many times. There was one example is I was riding at a 60k road. So more context for those of you who live in countries who don't use kilometers per hour, it's a unit of speed. So I think in America they use miles, miles per hour. Was it miles per hour? Miles or something. And then in Australia we use kilometers and kilometers per hour. Yeah, I was going 60 k's an hour, and then someone turned out in front of me from a McDonald's, and I was riding in the left lane. And I would drop down from like 60 k's an hour to 40. If not, I would just run into the driver, and it wouldn't be my fault, but I would be in a really bad accident. 60 k's an hour on a bike it doesn't feel fast, but the impact is very forceful, and I don't want to be in that accident. So that's why I got nervous of is riding in traffic, because there's a lot of reckless drivers who don't pay attention. So again, I started with quiet suburban roads that have traffic but aren't chaotic traffic. And then as I became more confident, I went on to more traffic heavy roads, like main roads with like 2 lanes in each direction, and then roads with a lot of traffic lights, roads that are more busy, and then going from there, going onto highways and then freeways and etc. Essentially, I had a really restricted time period to work on my motorcycling skills before I go for my assessment. I could have not gone for it, and but my license will expire in early June if I didn't go for it. Early June this year, if I didn't go for it and pass, then I would have to redo the whole learner process, as in redo the learner course, get a new learner permit, and then from there be able to get my motorcycle license, or go for my motorcycle license. And that's something that is absolutely unnecessary. And I mean, it's a lot of unnecessary time, and it's a lot of unnecessary money. So yeah, essentially with restricted time, putting my hand in my back pocket because it's really cold here and I don't have gloves. What was I saying? Restricted time. Yes, focusing time on working on the weaknesses and the areas that I feel most unconfident in. Because hypothetically, if I had only focused on the things that I'm already feeling comfortable in and neglect the things that I don't feel comfortable in or not that confident in compared to the things over here, everything would just sort of crumble. Because when I go to the assessment, I'll be like, oh shit, I didn't put enough time into the things that I'm not really confident in. And then it will sabotage my performance, and I will not feel comfortable going for the assessment and feel like I will confidently pass, because there's all these other areas that are not addressed before the assessment, and it's the exact things that they're gonna assess me on. Therefore, it just all crumbles. I definitely think another part of this is like having trust and control in myself. Like if I don't trust myself with the bike, I'm just looking at the background. It's very oversaturated, but it's cloudy. Yeah. If I don't trust myself in that, I can actually ride the motorcycle and have control of the motorcycle, then that also sort of throws everything I said with practice out the window. Because if I don't believe I can do a right turn or eventually learn how to do a right turn, or if I don't believe that I can ride in traffic safely and, be able to perceive hazards and avoid accidents by slowing down if someone pulls out in front of me out of the blue or things like that, if I don't have that belief, or I don't even fully believe it, but if I'm like, you're absolute garbage, Lev, you cannot possibly pass this motorcycle assessment with only 3 months of practice, and have the really debilitating self-belief that is negative and that I cannot possibly do it, then it sort of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And which means, like, if I believe that I'm garbage, right, and I cannot possibly do it, therefore I'll behave in ways, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, I will behave in ways that sabotage my performance and the progress that I need to make to be able to pass the motorcycle assessment. And then there's a chance that I won't pass because of self-sabotage. It's like if I believe it, then I subconsciously do things that lead me to have events, I guess, or outcomes that align with my beliefs. So a different example is when I had severe social anxiety, right, I believed that everyone hated me and that I'm an awful person and that no one wants to talk to me. And that was my belief. And then I didn't engage in conversations with people. If people try to talk to me, I'm just really reserved and like avoided and distant. And then therefore that fulfilled the belief that, that you see, no one really wants to engage with me, therefore everyone hates me, therefore everyone must hate me and everything I do is garbage and stuff like that, because I believe that no one likes me, and then I behave in ways to sort of fulfill the belief that no one likes me because they don't talk to me and therefore everyone must hate me. It's the same thing with motorcycling. It's like if I believe that I can't do it, then I'll sabotage myself in ways that will likely lead me to not be able to do it. In summary, it's a combination of self-belief, trusting in myself, and also using the limited time that was presented to me wisely and using it strategically to work on areas of weaknesses more so than areas of strength. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.